Like, oh, Bear, you almost, Smokey, come on. You guys totally almost let me forget. I almost forgot the coolest thing to this giveaway is the artwork. Bear, the artwork. I'll get it.
Join the team.
Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new one called Mysthea. Bear, you ready, buddy? Let's lock in and get ready to go. All right, you guys might know Mysthea. This has been a recent Kickstarter. It was very successful. It was funded. Kickstarter's over, and we're going to be having this come to production, and I'm really excited about this title. There's been quite a few reviewers that have taken a look at this game. You will find those videos out there if you want to take a look at some other ones. We're not going to get into gameplay today. We're going to get into just taking a look at this game from a high level. I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics that I really like, because this one's kind of already gone through the Kickstarter phase, and we are going to be doing another giveaway on this one. So this prototype, we're going to do a giveaway on, and how do you get into that giveaway? You hit that subscribe button and comment below. In 3 weeks, Bear, our friend Bear here, will hit the button of fate and select one random comment below, and then that subscriber will get this prototype edition of Mysthea mailed to them for free on behalf of the channel. So that's what I like to do. We're going to do a giveaway on this one, and I'll tell you, this is a fantastic game. It doesn't include any of the awesome miniatures that we got through the Kickstarter. Now, if you go check out the Kickstarter, check out the description below. I will put a link to the successfully funded Kickstarter, as well as to any web page that is attached to this game, and you'll be able to see that there was a ton of awesome miniatures that are going to come with this game as well. When it hits production, and that's going to add even more to the already awesome game that we have. I mean, it really doesn't even need the miniatures. It already looks gorgeous from the perspective of the artwork, and the mechanics in the game are a lot of fun. And you'll see for the prototype edition, we've got these wooden meeples here to represent troops. Got these little squares here to represent your golems in the game, and you have these little pawns to represent your characters. Now, there is 4 of them. This is a 2 to 4 player game, 14 plus, and they clock it in right at about 90 minutes, which I think plays out pretty accurately, because this game does have somewhat of a timed mechanic to it. You will see right here on these boards. That's what's fun about this game, is it does come with quite a few, boards. It does take up a decent amount of table space, obviously, because everybody has their own player board here. You'll see I have 3 kind of players set up here. The 4th one is down there. And then there is a board here to run your events that will play out over the course of the game, as well as the 3 eras as they play out. So when you start an era, and that's every game does have 3 of them, and once you complete the 3rd era, then the game would effectively be over. And as you play the game, you'll take your cards here, your little development cards. You'll put them down over here on this part of the board. You'll take your monster and you'll shuffle that monster into your events. And then that will kind of randomly come out as you play the game. And you would do that at the beginning of every round. You would take another one of these cards and kind of put that down. Once the 5th card is put down on your event track, that will then trigger a phase to kind of end that era that you're in. And obviously, if you're in the 3rd era and you've accomplished that, then the game would effectively be over, and you would score everything out. One thing that I really like about this game is it isn't something where at the very end of an era, that's the only time where you're going to be able to get points or you're going to score everything out. There is some scoring that's going to happen at the very end of an era when you put that 5th card down on the track. But you don't have to really just only build up to that to be able to gain, your victory points that you can say all the way around the outside of the track here. You don't have to wait until the very end and to do any type of battling. Battles can happen over the course of the era. Lots of things can play out over the course of the era. And that's what I really like about this, that there's lots of different mechanics that are built into this game, and there's lots of things that are going on. Let me talk a little bit about some of the mechanics that I really like. Oh, Bear, you almost, Smokey, come on. You guys totally almost let me forget. I almost forgot the coolest thing to this giveaway is the artwork. Bear, the artwork. I'll get it. Okay, so we do have artwork that was included with this prototype, and it is printed on and I'll put a little message on the video here in the beginning when I initially went over this, because I want everybody I hope you see this part of the video, because this is one of the coolest things that I think for this giveaway we're going to have. And that's the artwork that they've included. So all the artwork that you'll find in the game, maybe not every single piece of artwork, I'm sure isn't in here, but most of the artwork that's on the cards, the various different types of cards that we have, I have prints for all of that. So you can see here that, and it's on a nice high quality paper. It's a very high quality print, good high quality color. I mean, they really did a good job with this artwork here. And you know, you can have these nicely cut and print, and you know, nicely cut and frame up each one of them. You can keep them together as a set and frame it. You can put, you know, multiple pieces together in one big frame. Lots of different ways you can do that, but you can just see how awesome this, oh man, look at that one, so awesome. Some of them are just actually the, you know, the characters and the heroes in the game, some of the monsters, and some of them are going to be just really artistically done backgrounds that you'll see here. Like this one here, some atonement. We'll talk about that when we get to this board. But this looks really cool. Just very, very awesome artwork. And I'm going to have this be part of the giveaway as well. And I'm going to do something a little bit different this time with this. I'm going to do something a little special. What I'm going to do is, in 3 weeks, when we select and Bear hits the button of fate to see who will be the lucky subscriber that has commented to get, here Bear, hold this, to get the actual prototype, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select 3 other subscribers as well. And 3 people are going to each get 2 random pieces of artwork. So two random, and I'll just do it randomly, 2 random pieces or sheets, which will be 4 pieces of artwork, and I will send that to them. So 3 people will get that, and then a 4th person will be chosen as kind of the grand prize winner, and that person will get the actual prototype that we have here on the table, as well as the rest of the artwork that's left over, which will still be quite a bit. You can see there's a ton of these here. So there'll be quite a bit of this still left over for that grand prize winner. And I'll do that completely randomly, and I would say that all of these art prints are really cool. I wouldn't say there's anything here that, you know, there isn't like just a couple good ones, and then you know, they're all awesome. So that'd be fun. It'll make it a little bit more fun. Spread it a little bit more, and there'll be actually 4 people that will get something and win something through this from the comments below. So hit that subscribe button and get in on that. If you want to follow me on Twitter as well, I would appreciate that. It is a good place to kind of get updates and notifications on what we're doing, as well as know about prize winners for different videos and different games that we're doing. And check out the Facebook page too. If you can throw me a like there, very much appreciated. So, Mysthea, let's talk about some of the things that I think are really cool in this game. So, one, you have a lot of choice on your turn of what you really want to do. So, you can spend points to, you know, when you have your cards, you got a handful of cards here, and they have different colors on them, and those colors get important when you get into combat. But they do have different colors on them and different things that they do. But every card, and this is one of the most important things, right at the top has these things called command points. And that can be used in different ways. You can use command points to move around the board. You can use command points to start to deploy your troops and get them kind of set up and ready to go. Then you can actually take them from your player board and deploy them out on to the board. You can use command points for that. You can also use these command points to activate energy. And you can use that energy to activate some of the things that are actually on the card. So the card can be used in 2 ways. Either one, you just take the points, throw the card away. It's not going to be used from an ability perspective. And you just allocate those command points out to doing things around the board. Or you use the command points to actually activate the card's power and give yourself some type of ability and give yourself an edge over the rest of your opponents, because you very much are playing against all the other players. It is a competitive game pretty much from every regard. You will start the game with some of these starter cards, and then over the course of play, you'll be able to gain more of those cards here as you go through the eras and you set those out on this board, and then they become available to you over the course of play, where you can now start to kind of build up your hand of cards and gain more different types of cards. And again, these cards all do have kind of a different color. See a blue, green, and red here. And that will come into play when you actually do combat. Combat's a very simple mechanic. We'll talk about that here in a second. So one of the things you can do is you can just go ahead and act on the card that you have. And the second main thing that you can do is meditate. And that's just a way to gain up some energy and some power. So you'll get 3 energy if you meditate. You also will go to the board and you'll see, well, where do I have, troops out on the board, and do I control certain areas? And in every area that you might, have a troop and you might control, that'd be an area that you'll get some extra bonus and some extra points for. And there's various rules that list out, how that works and what extra things that you'll get. But that's how meditate works. It's really a mechanic to be able to sort of beef back up and kind of, you can almost look at it as kind of a healing type mechanic. And then the last thing you can do is actually develop. And there's a nice little card here that lists out the main actions that you can take on your turn, as well as the special actions. So every time it's your turn, you'll take one of these 3 main actions. Either act, we talked about using those cards, moving around the board, maybe utilizing the card from its benefit. You can meditate, which is kind of the heal up, gain some energy back, look at the board. Is there anything that I'm in control of? Well, depending on what it is, I'll get other things, maybe more energy, maybe some victory points, things of that nature. Or you can develop, which is right here. Once you move that era card over and you start an era, you'll be able to flip those cards over here and then be able to select upwards to 1, 2, or 3 cards from here that will be able to kind of beef your hand back up with more cards and give you more options on your turn. And then there's a set of special actions, and you can take one of these as well, but they're optional. So again, when it's your turn, you take one of the standard actions, and then you have optional special actions, and you can take one of those as well. And this is where the game really becomes fun in these special actions, is you can activate something called an accessory. So over the course of the game, let's say as part of that, one of those standard actions, you decided to use one of these cards, and one of these cards was had some iconage on here that indicated it was an accessory, and that uses a little icon of a gear. I know it's small to see here. Bear, load up the video. Bear's going to do some video of what we got on the table here, so you can see it a little bit closer, as well as some of these cards. But this little card here has a little gear on it, and that gear indicates that it's an accessory card. And accessory cards, when you want to say, hey, I'm going to use the card, it's almost thematically like you're sort of tinkering and sort of building this thing that you're going to use later in the game. And that's what I love about this, where you'll take this card, and on your player board, there's 3 spots that have the little gears, and you can only have up to 3 accessories. And you can store that accessory on your player board here, and then at a later point in time in the game, you can say, well, I'm going to take one of my standard actions, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to take one of my special actions, and I'm going to activate one of my accessories. And then all of a sudden, you just out of nowhere activate an accessory that you've been storing up here against another player. And maybe it's a benefit of you, maybe it's against another player, which I think is a really cool concept, that you can kind of build these things and then store them for later use in the game. And I find that to be a lot of fun. The other areas that you're going to see on the board here are areas to upgrade, and there's one for each one of the different types of troops. You can actually get some upgrades that will benefit you over the course of the game, and those are set down and put right up here. So there's a spot right on this player board for everything that you would need to do as far as storing a card, if it's in play or if it's something you're going to use later. You'll put it right here on this player board, and it's nice and easy to be able to track it. Every character is also going to have one of these champions, and every champion does have a special ability as well that you'll see right there at the bottom of the card. There is a lot of iconography in this game, where there's a lot of symbols you'll see right up here. So you will want to look in the rules. The rules do clearly lay out what each one of these things mean. And once you kind of understand what it means, they did a pretty good job at the icon that they used for the various different things. But I do find myself every once in a while needing to kind of go back to that rule book and look up, hey, what does this mean? Or, like this guy, for example, has got all kinds of stuff here at the bottom of his card, this champion, of the special things that he can do. One thing that I would say is it may have been easier to just, use very small text and just write out on the card exactly what the card did or what this guy's ability was. And maybe there was something there where the icons, fit better on the card or whatnot. I'm more of a fan of just putting the text right on the card because it just kind of helps you. You just read the card and you're done. And you don't find yourself playing that game of constantly going back to the book and saying, what does this little icon mean and this little icon mean? But I don't want to really ding that too bad because there isn't that many of the icons in the game, and you do kind of pick up to speed pretty quickly on what they mean and how to use them in the game. They did a pretty good job, like I said, in using an icon that made sense for what it was doing. So that's that. And let's go back to the special actions here because we've got the activate the accessory, which is one of my favorites. Start a battle, so you can fight and you can battle throughout the course of the era. You don't have to wait until the very end of that to be able to go into a battle. It's going to happen over the course. You can move an island to where your champion is. You can perform an attunement. So when you move an island, what you would do, and this is another cool mechanic of this game, is all these here are not actually part of the board. And you would know that if you were part of the Kickstarter or have seen this before. They're not actually part of the board. They actually move around. They're like little islands that are floating around in this world. And what you would do is then, let's say your champion is here, you could move this into the center, and then you could do something called becoming attuned. And they have these atonements that are right here on the side, and those are going to change up for every game, going to be different. And each one of them has a day and a night side. And you'll choose. You can do a mix of day and night. You can do all day. You can do all night. It's completely up to you. And they're a little bit different. It just is a way that adds to replayability. And I'll say it's another thing with this game that's off the charts. There's a huge amount of replayability with this game, and I really like that as well. Any game that has an enormous amount of replayability, high quality artwork and components, and it's fun, that's pretty much a buy. You know what I'm saying? That's a good game because it's something you're going to get enjoyment out of for a long time. So you could then attune with one of these things. There's rules for that if you're able to attune with the right type of atonement that's out for the island that you move. And then you will actually get some benefit, which is listed out right here at the bottom of that if you're able to do that. And you'll keep and select, you'll take that card as well, and that'll then be your card and your atonement. And then you will be able to move these islands. So when you do move, you do kind of come into the center, and then you'll decide where you want to go. And let's say I wanted to go here. Well, I would just kind of move these out and cycle these around. And what's cool about that is that allows the game board to constantly change and move over the course of the game, because as you move with your troops, you're going to move to places that are close to you. You're not going to jump all the way over. So it just allows ways to be able to relocate troops and move them around the board, and even stop other players from being able to maybe gang up in certain areas because you sort of move them out and kind of separate their forces. So I really like that mechanic and concept of how this game plays out as well. And you're going to be battling on these and combat, so we'll talk a little bit about that real quick here before we get to our last special action. When we do combat, this is where the color of these cards come into play. It really is very simple. You're going to do combat, and it's the highest force within that area is going to essentially win. So if you have more people than someone else, but how you're going to do that is you're going to select one of the cards from your hand. You're going to put that card under the table. Okay? Now, if you don't want to challenge at all, you're not going to do anything, you just come up and you got nothing, right? But if you're actually going to do an action, you come up and you say, okay, reveal, and everybody reveals, and that's where Bear reveals. And let's say I had green. Well, green means sacrifice, so I would sacrifice my forces. Well, what if I used red? Well, red means I'm just straight up attacking. If I had a color of blue, that would mean there's a blue card up here, and if that's the one I chose, I would be defending. And there's different things that will happen based on the type of action you choose to do when you're going to be in that battle. And then, you know, you'll go through that, and then you'll determine, well, okay, after all of that takes place, who now has the highest number of force? And troops and golems and your actual pawn that represents your champion, they'll all be worth different amounts, and then you'll add that up, and whoever has the greatest force will be the winner of the battle within that area. So that's really fun as well. So you can see, as you play this game, you're going to be moving islands around. You're going to be making decisions on, what do I want to do with these cards? Events are going to be happening that are going to trigger at the end of the phase, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And then you're also going to be doing battles and trying to atone to cards that are out here. So there's a lot going on, a lot of decisions to be made, and a lot of things really to be watching over the course of the game. And that's where I see the complexity of this game coming in. It's not what do you do on your turn, because sometimes it's just kind of clear based on what's going on. This is what I need to do. The complexity of this game comes into play in making sure that you're keeping a close tab on what's going on in the game board and where other people are positioning forces and what other people are trying to do as far as the victory point totals and what the strategies are that you're seeing playing out. The last special action is going to be doing encounters, and that's this deck right here. So yet another thing that we can experience within this game is encounters, and encounters are really fun. If you're ever on a spot where you have one of your encounter tokens, and it's a token in the game that you'll put out on the board, you'll be able to draw an encounter, all right? And then you'll need to decide. They have different types of encounters. Encounters that you can get loot from, encounters that help you move. There's let's see if it has it right here. Face an encounter. If your champion is on the same island as your encounter token, pay 1 of your experience for each encounter you have faced. So you will use 1 of your experience points for each encounter you can face, and you can only encounter up to 6 encounters. So you can't just do as many encounters as you want over the course of the game. You can only do 6 encounters. So if this is your 4th encounter you've done, you got to pay 4 experience points to be able to do that and be able to take on that encounter. But let's say this is the first encounter I've done. I'll pay my 1 experience point. I'll do an encounter, and I want to do the chest. And again, there's quite a few different types of encounters here. There's chests, there's boots, there's fights, there's different things you can do. But let's say I want to do the chest because I want to go for some loot. I'll flip that over, and now on the back, I'll get to figure out what that encounter is. So I didn't really know. And I'll go to the side that has the chest, not the boot, because I didn't choose that one. I'll hit the chest, and you can't then say, oh, no, if that's the boot, then I'd rather take the boot. It has to be decided before you flip it over, and then you have to go with whatever you decided. Then I would simply just read the card here and look at my icons and figure out and determine what I'm able to do for that particular encounter. Okay? So again, once you've brought out the 5th one of these guys, and you'll just kind of bring these out. Sometimes a monster will come out, sometimes it won't. Again, this monster would have been cycled in to this card. And let's say that it was, and it was the last one here that came out. At the end of our era, and that'd be marked by once this 5th card comes out on our events track. They call this the events track, and let's not get those confused. We have events here, we have encounters over here. They're different things. So what we would do then at the very end of that era is we now will go through event by event, and we'll go to these locations, and we will then score what's going on in the board. So you can now see there's multiple ways to score. You're going to be scoring and making progress over the course of that era, and then you're also going to have this final kind of score that's going to give you a bulk amount of benefit at the end of that era, and that's going to happen by going through each one of these one at a time. And if a monster comes out, and let's just say it did for our example here, you then would look at this, and then the monster that came out would attack and do something out here on the board, and if you were able to defeat that monster because you had more forces wherever it popped up, you then would get a set number of glory victory points. So that's how that works. And then at that point, you would reset some things on the board, and you would go to your next era. Anything that was left over would just kind of be put in the box if you didn't use certain cards or whatnot. And then you would start with grab your monster, cycle your monster into your event deck, grab your new era deck, put it down here on the board so you can actually deploy and do some building. And then you start your next era. And you just kind of go through that game era by era until you're done with the third era. And then whoever has the most points is then going to be the winner and the champion of Mysthea. Okay, that's the game. Again, I did not go over every rule. We did not do a playthrough on this one. If you want to see a playthrough, there's been quite a few out there that have done an actual playthrough, so you can take a look at that. Bear's really excited about this giveaway. I'm excited about this giveaway because we are going to be selecting, again, up to 4 subscribers who have commented below on this one. One of those being the lucky grand prize winner, getting the most of the artwork that we showed a little bit earlier, as well as the prototype that we have here. And we will select 3 other subscribers, and you will each get 2 sheets of artwork, and all of that will be shipped to you for free. It is open worldwide, and I'm excited about that as well, as all of our giveaways are. I like to keep that as open as possible. So if you haven't seen this one yet, go check the Kickstarter out. It is over now. It's successfully funded, but there will be a link below. You can go check the Kickstarter out and see all the fantastic miniatures and all the things that you can still get in on when it comes out to production. I don't know if there's a late pledge on this one. If there is, I would recommend trying to get into that. If they do a pre-order, I would recommend trying to get into that. Or once it comes out, check it out when it hits retail, because this one is a really awesome game, and I do highly recommend it. Hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team, ring the bell. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time. Rolling crits. Let's go, Bear.